Channel, welcome to today's show. Courteney Cox is back in the news. Well, she's back in the news because apparently Courteney Cox is speaking with Matthew Perry from the dead. And this is how they normalize spiritists, psychics, mediums. And of course, we've seen over the years how all of these celebrities just happen to coincidentally be into speaking with spirits. And this isn't the first time we've heard Courteney Cox talk about it. But Matthew Perry, who has long passed, who I covered his death back when it occurred, and the video is available on the website about Matthew Perry's quote-unquote sacrifice that occurred right before Leave the World Behind came out, which was filled with a lot of bizarre coincidences revolving around his death. So Courteney Cox is out talking about how not only Matthew Perry, but her mother and father visit her all the time. And when you see stories like this, people become so desensitized that this is the new normal. People out there talk about seeing spirits, talking to spirits, and they think that it's a normal occurrence, right? Now, when we talk to them about demons and demonic entities, they think that we're all crazy, but they seem to believe that a ghost of their grandmother appears in their home, and a lot of them go to mediums or invoke those spirits through seances and Ouija boards and other things they've been told are not satanic and have nothing to do with occult practices, that they're just normal everyday things that people should do. And that's, of course, how you see these things normalized out in the open. When celebrities talk this way, and celebrities talk about these things on the talk shows they go on, the regular people out there become influenced by it. And these are all things that God forbids and warns us not to partake in. In Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31, do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them, and I am the Lord your God. In Leviticus chapter 20, verse 27, men and women among you who act as mediums or psychics must be put to death by stoning. They are guilty of a capital offense. The Bible talks and speaks against witchcraft. It talks openly about demonic possession. These are all things that are in the Bible, but you don't hear any churches talk about this type of stuff, right? Because a lot of the women in the church, or even the men in the church, think that it's fun to go to a medium or a psychic and think that it's no big deal, but in fact it is a big deal. And remember, everything that's in the Bible that God forbids us to do, they normalize out in the open. This is done by design. They're normalizing every single sin. They're normalizing every single occult practice and making it day-to-day things that regular people do, even Christians. Here she is, Courteney Cox, or he is, talking about this, and stick around because there's a lot of other stuff with Courteney Cox you need to see. But here is Courteney talking about Matthew Perry's been visiting her recently, and this is supposedly normal.
You've reflected on Instagram about Matthew Perry, a member of your family.
Matthew Perry, who played Chandler Bing, died last year at 54.
What stands out most in your life? What kind of impact did he have?
I think he's probably one of the funniest human beings in the world. He's just so funny. He is genuinely a huge heart, obviously struggled. I'm so thankful I got to work so closely with him for so many years. He visits me a lot if we believe in that.
I know you're a spiritual person, which makes that statement very interesting, so you still feel his presence.
Oh yeah, I talked to my mom, my dad, Matthew. I feel like there are a lot of people that are, I think, that guide us. I do sense, yeah, I sense Matthew's around for sure.
Now, of course, we know that it's not Matthew Perry that's visiting Courteney Cox. Courteney Cox has openly talked about summoning spirits and demons and even seeing the devil, which I'll show you in a second. But just remember when it comes to Matthew Perry, that Matthew Perry said before he got the role on Friends that he prayed to God to make him famous before he got that role. And then, of course, he said he would do anything to become famous. And then he realized that he pretty much sold his soul. Now, Courteney Cox has been on Howard Stern, other, Kabbalistic, satanic people's talk shows, Seth Meyers, talking about how she summoned spirits and even seen the devil in her apartment. And again, this is because Courteney Cox is a witch. All of these celebrities are witches. Listen.
You someone in real life, did you ever buy into the supernatural?
I saw some. I mean, there's no question I saw some.
You saw something?
I saw these faces. Some of them looked a little like what I would imagine the devil to look like.
You're on record as saying you lived in a house in, I don't know, Laurel Canyon somewhere, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a home you bought years ago. You bought it from Carole King.
Well,
lived there.
Yeah, Carole King lived there, Gypsy Rose Lee.
And you've been in interviews and you've said, I lived in a house that was haunted. Do you really believe in ghosts and that your house was haunted? I want to know the truth.
Okay, I really didn't believe in ghosts, but that scared me when that many people had seen spirits and stuff in the house, and then just out of the blue, not people, that no one was, the guy wasn't staying in the house. He just rang the doorbell and saw one standing behind me. So that was, but I didn't.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Some guy rang your doorbell.
Yeah.
And you said to the guy, hey, have you heard that this house is haunted?
I didn't. The doorbell rang. I went to it. It was a UPS guy or Federal Express, whatever it was, and I answered it, got my package, and he said, do you know this house is haunted? And I go, really, why? He goes, because there's someone standing behind you. And I thought, oh, shit.
Do I have it right that you then called Carole King, the former owner of the house, and had her come over and held a seance with her to get rid of the ghost first?
You know what? She came over before that, and I didn't really believe, but she's such a cool lady, and I was so in awe of her that we did have a seance. I guess that's what we called it. We held hands, we sat around, and I just wasn't really connected to it. I just kept looking at her like, this is Carole King. Some of them didn't look that welcoming. I mean, some of them looked a little like what I would imagine the devil to look like.
So, Courteney Cox, these are things that you hear. You should go, whoa, wait, what? What? This isn't normal. What are these people really involved in? What are they doing? Are they making deals with the devil? All this stuff, actually, yes, it is. But they convinced me that it's something to laugh at while they openly talk about it all the time in the media. So, Courtney Cox is somebody we've seen doing the 666 right over her eye, even over her daughter's eye. There's a tweet out there from Courteney Cox, if you didn't see it before. Courteney Cox tweeted, I believe it was 2014. This is the quote, tweeted from Courteney Cox. How long does it take to cook a baby in a microwave? I don't know. I close my eyes when and then there's another word in there about touching oneself. Yeah, and that's from Courteney Cox, who we're not supposed to believe is a witch. Now, that coincides with Courteney Cox, who, just like all of these celebrities, puts out these very bizarre tweets and Instagram posts about their obsession with pizza. So Courteney Cox posts, her eating in a restaurant, eating pizza, tells everybody this is how you really eat pizza, and nobody becomes suspicious. Now, all of you should know that pizza is a code word for these rituals that are done with youngsters, right? This is out in the open. This is not hidden. In fact, Courteney Cox isn't the only one who loves pizza out in the open. Remember Courteney Cox's best friend from the show Friends, who coincidentally is one of her closest friends in real life? Yeah, Jennifer Aniston, the same Jennifer Aniston, who if you look up some pictures of Jennifer Aniston, you'll see Jennifer Aniston holding her eye, putting her hand up to make all-seeing eye symbolism, doing devil horns, the oath of secrecy, shh, that they don't want you to know about, closing one eye, playing peekaboo, the same stuff I show you in almost every single video. Courteney Cox doing the 666 aura, and her best friend does the same thing, right? I mean, just pretty close to the same thing, devil horns, these are all satanic symbols, right? Now, you might remember Jennifer Aniston was hosting Ellen DeGeneres, another pizza lover show, and happened to have this weird interaction with Selena Gomez about pizza and how fun pizza is. I didn't know food could be fun, but apparently to these people it is.
We've known each other for years. You've been to my house. We've had pizza. We're allowed to my own part. Do we love a pizza or what? We love a pizza. It's so much fun. Now, I was told that you recall us meeting for the first time in the bath.
Now, what do you think Jennifer was referring to? Right? Jennifer, who out in the open, just like Courteney Cox talks about demons and seeing spirits, Jennifer Aniston swears by the goddess circles that she's been doing with her friends for 30 years, right? So a goddess circle, you might say, what is a goddess circle? That just sounds like good, clean fun, right? Well, that's what a dumbed down, lukewarm Christian would probably think. But Jennifer Aniston goes from doing goddess circles, well, Jennifer Aniston thanks Demi Moore. Why is she thanking Demi Moore? Because she joined the Kabbalah. Right, thank you, Demi. Now she's in the cabal, so now she can openly talk about how she practices goddess circles and witchcraft. And they want you to think that, that this is just some fun, kooky thing that celebrities do, but it's actually them out in the open admitting that they're witches. They're all witches. And I show you Jennifer Aniston, I show you the connection to all of them being witches, right? Courtney Cox, summoning spirits, right? Does the 666 or does the pizza references. So does Jennifer Aniston, all the same stuff, right? And then when she mentions that Demi Moore is the one that led her to the cabal, well, Demi Moore, I don't know if you're familiar with this stuff, I've used it many times in the past, but this is Demi Moore with a 12-year-old. Is this normal behavior with a 12-year-old?
I don't know. Maybe just because I love them all and I hope they all love me. We do love them, and I love them.
You can take it for like publicity. You're out of your mind.
Absolutely, because he's one of my most favorite people. He's one of my most favorite people for about 3 weeks, and he's into the Braves.
Well, of course it's not normal behavior with a 12-year-old, but these are the things that witches in our society today are able to get away with out in the open. They're able to get away with kissing 12-year-olds. They're able to get away with summoning spirits and demons, where in other time periods, you would have been accused of being a witch and you would have been taken care of, right? Because, of course, if you understand witches and Satanists, what they really do, there's a reason that they were taken care of. They were taken care of because there was always a trail of blood around them. There was always sacrifice among them. There was always missing children among them. Thus, the trails all led back to the witches and the Satanists because they were caught doing these things, right? Well, in today's society, that's all considered crazy, right? Even though out in the open, they're like, oh, I'm a witch. Oh, you're a witch. Oh, I'm a witch too, right? Lana Del Rey, I'm a witch. Right, Jennifer Aniston, I do witch circles. I mean, goddess circles, and I'm in the cabal. Jenny was like, I'm in the cabal too. And hey, look, I make out with 12-year-olds. Then Madonna jumps up and goes, hey, I'm in it too. I'm in the cabal also. Does it look like I'm a witch? Oh, yeah, it does look like you're a witch too. Madonna, do you admit to it too? Oh, yeah, you do also. Wow, there's certainly a lot of witches in Hollywood. Now, do you think that they're there because of their talent? No, they're not there because of their talent. Are they there because they made a deal with the devil? Well, in some senses, yes. But they're also there to condition you. They are the ones indoctrinating everyone with accepting sin, with committing sin without even realizing it, and then normalizing this stuff. They're the ones who are engineering the behavior. Celebrities, that is their purpose. That is what they serve to the CIA, to the government. They're the ones who are engineering the behavior. That's why we've seen society become so disgusting. I talked about in the Billie Eilish video, right? You can see Billie Eilish, how Billie Eilish dresses. And you go, oh, that's really... And then you see all these kids dressed like Billie Eilish. And then nobody goes, well, that's because Billie Eilish is influencing. This is, oh, no, I made this decision on my own. No, you didn't make your decision on your own. This is Operation Paperclip in full effect. This is what the government's been perfecting over the last couple of decades. They've been perfecting how to influence your behavior. So now we're seeing all these celebrities talk about this type of stuff out in the open. Everybody loves Courtney Cox. Friends is one of those popular shows there is. So Christians and people will condemn me for talking about Courtney Cox or Jennifer Aniston or Matthew Perry's dad. Even when Matthew Perry died, and I showed the connections with Matthew Perry talking about making a deal with the devil. Fans came over and they're like, no. Right? I covered how many people out there doing videos crying, pretending like they knew Matthew Perry. I mean, it's legitimate psychosis. They don't want to believe this stuff. When it's right in front of your face, what do you think? Courtney Cox just decided with all the fame and celebrity that Courtney Cox has all the money that she wants to openly talk about how she eats pizza, right? And then creepily eating pizza on her Instagram account. Everyone's just like, wow, that's kooky and weird eating pizza, right? Then Jennifer Aniston talks about these pizza parties that they have, right? Or they just hang out, eat pizza, and how fun pizza is. That doesn't even make sense, doesn't it? You ever cook pasta in your home and you're like, pasta's fun, right? You might say, hey, I like how pasta tastes, I like to eat pasta, right? But pizza's fun, right? So that would mean that there's something else going on. But nobody bothers to connect the dots. They're all witches. All of this stuff done out in the open. And I'll play you the clip that I always play, right? Because Matthew Perry was likely a sacrificial offering. Because when you make a deal with the devil, eventually it comes time, it's due. Something's due, right? Usually what they have to do is commit another blood sacrifice. And if they don't, then they're the blood sacrifice, right? Matthew Perry was clearly a sacrificial offering. He didn't vanish. It was clear that it was a ritual from all the signs that were surrounding him, all the things that he was posting and talking about. And this is what it's like. This is how it works. I always use this clip from the movie The Believers. That's the name of the movie, The Believers, about sacrifice.
Of course, you're uncertain, Cal. Naturally, so was I, till I met him. And now imagine, if you can, a life without uncertainty, freedom from doubt, the ability to choose, single-mindedness. One life from each of us, Cal, is all he has. And he rewards our devotion 1,000-fold. Personal desires, oh yes, of course, anything. That's part of it. It's only the beginning. There was a time, Cal, when man was at one with the gods before the fall. Now we're at one again. And their benediction is power. It's a power you can't imagine. Power to create a world of our choosing. Power to destroy those who oppose us. We want you to join us.
Break this ground. With this father's humble offering, we seek the strength and wisdom of our benefactors.
We call upon the ancient gods to renew our strength and guide your hand to strike down the enemies of our faith and of this great nation.
We welcome our brother Cal, reborn into your grace.
Ayawaladama.
Power, which is our birthright. Glory, which is our destiny. Our enemies to consume by winds of fire. Our strength reborn inside of us.
Identity, Sonina. Masaya identity, Sonina.
Okay, so that's the name of the game. So Matthew Perry isn't paying visits to Courtney Cox because in the afterlife he's like, I really like to visit my friend from the show. They invoke spirits because they invoke demons. Nobody comes and visits you. Grandma doesn't show up in your house and move around your trolls on your countertop. Okay, demons do. Demons are real. The Bible tells us about demons. The Bible also tells us to stay away from mediums. In fact, it even says death by stoning for people who practice as mediums or psychics. But today, now, that's just considered normal. This is what we have now. We have New Age Christianity because of people like Courtney Cox, people like Jennifer. They bring this stuff out in the open, and Christians embrace this stuff because they say, well, Courtney Cox isn't a Satanist. She's not walking around wearing devil horns. She doesn't look like Billie Eilish or what we're supposed to believe a Satanist looks like. So they just talk about these things. And then people out there who are fans of the shows or the movies they're in, they're like, wow. My mom died recently. Maybe I should see a psychic because maybe I could talk to my mom because I really miss my mom, right? Some stuff's understandable. Everybody misses their mom, but you're not supposed to be summoning demons. You're not supposed to be seeing a psychic, okay? But these people do. You never hear in church. When's the last time you heard in church, 501c3, talk about psychics, mediums? I can't recall ever hearing it. Maybe more end-time prophecies people, because they don't warn you about these people. They like to believe that mind control's not real. They never talk about persuasion and manipulation. False idols, specifically when the Bible talks about false idols. These people are the false idols. They're literally put on a pedestal, and then people copy and mimic their behavior, just like things like this. So there was no spirit visiting her, just a demon. It wasn't Matthew Perry himself, but I needed to cover it because when I see this stuff, I see everybody tweeting and oh yes, right? These pizza lovers, all of them connected to each other, all witches, normalizing occult behavior out in the open. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always, and your families.
Get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose.
In a matter of moments, my friends, it's a great honor to be joined in studio by this gentleman, an absolute legend of the pro wrestling scene, an indie sensation, especially in the last year. He has just skyrocketed. He appeared as a member of the TNA roster on NXT, which is a WWE brand, in the summertime in June. Had a nice run there, went back to TNA recently, just some 2.5 or so weeks ago, won the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And then on Saturday at the Royal Rumble in Indianapolis, he appeared as number 15, had a nice little run there, and it was surreal to see the TNA Heavyweight Champion walk out with that belt. Now they've got this arrangement, and everyone loves him. He's got a great demeanor, a great personality, a great entrance song, a great gimmick, everything that you would want. And it's happening, as Wade Barrett said on Saturday, it took him 15 years to become an overnight sensation, which is just an amazing line, and really does sum up his amazing career and his amazing story. And what's so much fun about this, I reached out to him because of what happened on Saturday, reached out to him, never met before, and said, hey, would you like to come on maybe on Zoom? We could do an interview. He said, why don't I come in studio? That's the kind of guy I like. That's the kind of guy I want to do business with. Say his name, and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. How are you, my friend? What a great honor this is. Wow. Thank you so much. We can't get enough of the music here. We can't get enough of the song. We keep singing it. My kids keep saying, look at this. There it is. Oh, look at that. Let's see camera 3 right here.
Look at that.
Can we go to camera 3? Look at that. Oh, that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Joe, you're the man.
Thank you,
for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I have to say, I reached out to you yesterday and you said, oh, can I come in studio? And I was like, well, are you going to be in New York? You had no plans. Yes, you are. You had no plans of being in New York.
I did not. I just think, look, there's certain interviews you got to do in person, right? And I'm very much, I was actually supposed to be on the Jericho cruise.
I saw this on the internet.
Yes, what happened was I was supposed to go straight from the Rumble to the cruise. I go from the Rumble back to the hotel, pick up my things. And it turns out if you fly into the Dominican Republic, because that's where I was meeting them, rather than sailing, you need an extra visa thing, and we didn't have that. So we didn't know about it. It's unfortunate. We'll try to do it again next year. So I couldn't do that. But I kind of have been responding to, the random nature of life, and then you DM'd me and I was like, it's a sign. Let's go. So
incredible. So what would you have done? Like, where's home for you?
I'm still in Scotland.
You're still in Scotland. Yeah. As a pro wrestler who's working primarily in the United States, North America, let's just say, that's got to be a pain in the butt.
I mean, the travel's tough at times, but I mean, look, if you look at my life in the last year, I have got nothing to complain about.
What a story, man. I love your story. I freaking love everything about it. It's a beautiful thing, and congratulations on Saturday.
Thank you.
And what a time to speak to you for the first time after you just made your Royal Rumble debut as the TNA Heavyweight Champion.
It was pretty wild.
Do you feel like you're on cloud 9?
It has not sunk in yet at all. I have not had. The great thing about the last year for me is I've had no time to process all the amazing things that have happened. Like, I just won this amazing championship from Nick Nemeth, who's a legend in the business, and I hadn't even had time to process that, and then we find out the Rumble's happening. It's like, all right, let's go. There's just been so many. All right, we gotta go. Let's go. So many fun things have happened, and I'm sure it'll hit me in a week or two.
Well, when did you get the call that you would be a part of the Rumble?
So what's interesting is I've been kind of trying to speak this into existence for a long time, and I remember walking into, like, I've got like a training school back home. I walked in after Jordan Grace had done her stint in the Rumble representing TNA Wrestling, and I'd said, you know what? I said, mark my words, I'll be in the next Rumble.
Really?
And yeah, even if it's a subconscious thing, I just feel like when you put something out there to people, you kind of start guiding your actions towards that. And it was a great honor to, now the partnership between TNA and WWE. It's been amazing for both companies, and it was a huge honor to represent TNA on that stage. And can I just say, by the way, this is big for me. I've been watching your content for a long time.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate it.
Very cool.
We'll get into your martial arts background as well.
Sure.
But okay, so last year Jordan Grace shows up. It's a huge deal. I believe it was 2 years ago. Mickey James showed up, right?
Yeah.
Last year's Rumble. Where were you in life? Where were you watching that?
That's quite interesting, actually. I was at a point where, so I was with TNA, but I didn't have much going on. At that point, I don't think I'd been on an actual pay-per-view for several months. By April this year, I hadn't been on a TNA pay-per-view for about a year. And it's just crazy how in 9 months, you can go from one place and you can just ascend to somewhere completely different if you just have faith in what you're doing. And also the other thing is I think you have to have a real commitment to getting better in all areas of the game. Because look, if you break down what it takes to be a professional wrestler, if you aim to get better in every one of those areas, good things are going to happen. So there's been a lot of fortune, there's been a lot of, a huge amount of support from the fans. They've really put me in this spot, but I had to do my bit as well. I had to just keep improving in all areas,
Point being, the idea of you being in the Rumble this time last year, kind of absurd, right?
Totally absurd.
Like the longest of long shots.
Yeah, absolutely. But for some reason, I just thought it was going to happen.
Were you watching live?
Yes, I think
it would be in the middle of the night if you were in Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, look, how it is for wrestling fans.
You
We're
guys are
really
insane.
casual wrestling fans. We're dedicated. So most, in the UK, we will just, that's part of the culture, is just staying up till 4 a.m. to watch the
That's why you guys are the best. MMA fans as well. Like, I don't know how they are fans of the sport watching at 3, 4 a.m. I can barely stay up till 1 a.m. here on the East Coast. The call, when you got the call that you were going to be a part of it, what did that feel like? And can I ask who delivered the news to you?
So I heard some rumblings that there was some interest, but it was actually, it was my boss Ariel who confirmed it to me. But I heard some rumblings, and then when it was actually confirmed, it was like, oh, this is actually happening. So when you get that information, what you then need to think about is you're going, okay, how can I maximize this opportunity? When you're the champion of a company, you're not just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about how can I elevate the company? How can I elevate the championship? You have to those considerations. How can I make the biggest impact? How can I do something that will open up doors for future business? And actually, I just couldn't help myself. As soon as I won this championship, I did an interview the next day and just started calling out John Cena because, and in the same way that I believe that would be in the Rumble, I'm happy to say I hand on heart believe that I will wrestle John Cena this year.
Really?
100%. There's not any doubt. And I had the opportunity to tell John Cena that as well.
Backstage?
Yeah. We had a long conversation.
And how was that?
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was, he's the greatest, and I'll share some of it. I won't share it all, but basically what he did say was that fortune favors the bold. And what he made clear is that if I want that match to happen, it's on my shoulders. I got to make it happen. I got to generate the interest to make it happen. And it was almost like a challenge, And aside from that, he gave me some great advice. And, with all the chaos of the Rumble going on, John Cena sat down with me and we had a long, meaningful conversation where he could have, used that time to think about what he was doing. He instead invested the time to talk to me. So I think he sees something in me, but I have to prove myself now. I have to put myself in a position where me versus John Cena is one of the most compelling matchups in professional wrestling.
I feel like you can do it.
I believe. Thank you.
I believe. I really do. I mean, you have willed so much into existence. I heard you tell a story a few months back. The first time you spoke to John as a youngster, your friend was at a signing, you couldn't make it, and he just handed him the phone. He spoke to you for like 10 minutes in the midst of like a sea of people.
Yeah, he held up the signing to
talk to some like teenage kid that he had never met before, knew nothing of. You weren't in the business, right? You were just a fan.
Just a fan, and that's who John is.
That's absurd that he would do that.
It is, but
most people would just be like, "Hey, thanks for the support. See you later."
Yeah, but he asked me
who my favorite wrestlers were. Like, what did you think of the show? Like, I remember it as if it were yesterday.
Was this the first time you spoke to him in person this past weekend?
I met him super briefly when I was an extra in 2013, but this was the first sort of meaningful, like, long conversation that we had, and it was, it was awesome. Like, there was quite a lot of people that I got to speak to and have great conversations with. So
I'm fascinated by that because here you are, you're on fire. You just became champ. You just beat a well-known guy, Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler.
I just got checked, by the way. You always get the fear. There we go. The title's the right way.
No,
I know you would tell me.
Listen, I've been looking at it, and it's fantastic.
It's a beautiful belt. Sorry, carry on.
Look how good you look back there. I mean, look at this. You look fantastic. You got the blue and the white. Shout out to Scotland. What is it like walking in there? I don't want to say enemy territory. It's all good vibes. But you're the new kid here, right? And there's giants of the game, right? A who's who. Some said the most stacked Rumble ever. And you walk in there, guy who's been grinding, dreaming of this moment. Here you are coming out. We'll get to the walkout in a moment. What is that feeling like? Like the first few moments.
I'm loving this live betting on DraftKings.
With so many options during the game, it feels like I'm calling the plays. Hi-yo! That's a touchdown. I told you. See, guys, I get the W. You know why? Because I chose right, but not this guy. I work hard and I study film, and I thought it was going here, but it wasn't. Give me the make-believe hat.
Hey, yo.
Who's the king?
Hey, man, watch the game, man.
Who's the fake king?
Watch the
I'm
game.
the king.
New DraftKings customers download the app and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. The crown is yours.
This isn't your home, right? You're an outsider. Can you take us through that?
Yeah, so the first thing was, I was amazed that it didn't leak because what I did is, weeks ago, I made the decision that I was just going to put myself in Indianapolis, like to make it easy. And I remember Chris Jericho asked me, he's like, do you want to do the cruise? And originally I was like, Chris, I'm sorry, this is going to sound crazy, but I need to keep that Royal Rumble date free. I know this is crazy, but I think it's going to happen. And he was like, all right, man. And then he said, look, maybe you could join the cruise later. But we booked a bunch of stuff in Indianapolis, so I was there. So we had to leave a signing early for me to catch a flight. And we got to the venue, and when I walked in, there was a lot of familiar faces, like a lot of Scottish wrestlers who I kind of came up through. It was great to see them. But I got to the back, and there was a moment where I just remember having a conversation with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, and I was just saying, if you guys were me, how would you approach this? And just getting great advice. And I have to tell you, I don't know if you want me to say this, but The Miz is awesome. And these guys they go out of their way to help you succeed, and it was, and as many people have at TNA, I've been very fortunate in the business that there's been a lot of people who have helped me get to where I'm getting to. I've had a lot of great advice, and I really do believe it takes an army of people to help someone like myself get better and get to this point. But yeah, it was an awesome experience. I got great advice, and I felt welcome, and I also felt this confidence that I thought this is a great opportunity for me to show that I can get a top level reaction in an arena with 70,000 people. So it was very reassuring that did happen, because you do have that thing where you wonder, you're like, well, how many people do know who I am? So you just don't know when you're about to.
Was there any part of you that was worried that when you get to the back that you would kind of be shunned, that no one would want to talk to you, that they would think that they're above you or you're beneath them, something like that?
I find that top talents in the business. The first time I got to work with top talents, I got to work with Drew McIntyre back home. I worked with Kurt Angle when I was 3 years in the business, and my experience of working with them is the same experience I've had with working with top talents. And they're made guys, they're made talents, they're confident, they're comfortable in who they are. So they're going, we need dance partners here. So they're trying to help elevate people. So I have to be honest, I've had nothing but good experiences really with top talents.
So maybe it's the guys who might be threatened by your presence, the lower guys, right?
Hey, you said it on me.
I'm just saying.
No, but
of course, I mean, it's a killer be killed world, right?
It is. It was. So what I'm probably referring to is when I was coming up through the ranks, like when at kind of TNA and WWE, it's awesome atmospheres. It was just like they're great locker rooms to be in. But on the way up, when you're coming through the Indies, it's a Shark Tank.
Yeah.
So actually, if you can survive that, it can be, in terms of getting along with everybody, it can be smooth sailing from there. I'd say coming up through the Indies was a bit of a Shark Tank.
I love the Triple H tweet, because he doesn't have to do that, right? He doesn't have to put you over. Like you're not one of his guys, right? I know there's the relationship, but not only does he tweet about you, he uses the line too.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about this? How did this come about?
I'll tell you how it came about. I was getting ready. It was just my music was about there to, right, we're counting you down.
Oh my gosh.
Triple H just walked over to me, put his arm around me, and pointed at me. He was like, "Oh, we're doing the point. We're doing the point."
Legendary.
Yeah. So that was awesome. And again, had a great conversation with Triple H, and it's just it's an honor for me to represent TNA in that environment, and I just felt so welcomed. I felt TNA has been so welcomed. I think this partnership is just awesome, and I've got nothing but good things to say.
When they announced the partnership just a few weeks ago, and obviously, like I said, Jordan shows up, it seemed to be good relationships. What did you think? Were you surprised that it was sort of cemented? Because let's be honest, historically, WWE isn't doing something like this. I mean, I remember this is how far back I go. I'm an old guy now. I mean, we're kind of around the same. I'm 42. How old are you? No, 30.
You were going to say 40?
No.
Come on. I'm 36.
36. My apologies. I used to buy the TNA weekly Wednesday pay-per-views. I think $9.99 from like Huntsville, Alabama, and stuff like that. So I remember when it started with Jeff and his father Jerry. The thought of a TNA belt being shown and being like promoted in a positive light on WWE television is absurd, and especially considering all that's happened with the company. And so when you saw this, and obviously what happened in the summertime, what were your expectations?
Well, I think what's very exciting is when I went over to NXT, I had the opportunity to train at the Performance Center. I was training with Terry Taylor every day. I was learning from Shawn Michaels every week. I had some amazing one-on-one conversations with Shawn that really expanded my mind with professional wrestling. I was fortunate enough to main event No Mercy as a TNA wrestler, which is I've got an N64 cartridge in my house, so No Mercy. You're just thinking, what's going on? But now that the partnership is solidified, I really think that opens the door for even more possibilities. And I might even be as bold as to say, what if we invited some people into TNA wrestling? I was in the Rumble, and a very organic moment that happened is I slide in and I'm getting ready to do my thing, and there's Sheamus standing in the corner, and this is something that people have really kind of gravitated towards. And genuinely, in that moment, I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, 'cause I want to do all this stuff, but Sheamus is looking at me. So there you go. There's the picture. I'm like, do I attack him? And they're like, but then if I attack him, I'm going to have to keep going over him. So I thought, you know what? Maybe he just wants to see what's happening. So I'll just let him observe. And the fans really kind of latched onto it. So I think actually, to be honest, I think the fans would also be interested in maybe even seeing Sheamus come over to TNA wrestling and maybe challenging me for the TNA World Championship, or the Miz for that matter. I think that me and the Miz would have a fantastic program. And obviously the partnership being with NXT, maybe Ethan Page comes over to TNA wrestling and challenges me there. There's so many possibilities possibilities. And here's the cool thing about it. I know nothing. I knew nothing until I found out about the Rumble. I'm just throwing some interesting things out there, in the hope that they might happen.
Sheamus was very complimentary of you on social media afterwards as well. And there's a tweet I was enjoying, Joe Hendry. So, like,
they put up some stats, and it was, Penta being in it for 42 minutes, and there was there'd been a few people like different stats, and I was like, we need to get one for Sheamus. So someone made a graphic of Sheamus believing in Joe Hendry for 30 seconds. So we got the graphic of that made. But I think I think
there it is.
There you go. Yes. Most time believing. People seem to be into that too. I think people are excited by the possibilities. But the fact that the partnership is now solidified, is it that out with the question to think that there could be someone to hold the NXT and TNA championships at the same time, for example? That's just. I think we've now found out anything is possible in the world of professional wrestling.
And by the way, what exactly is the partnership? To the best of your knowledge, is it just sharing of talent? Is it more than that?
To be completely truthful with you, I don't know the inner details of it, and I think that's the best way to do it, because it's exciting. Because we will find out about these opportunities, and people will just show up, and it's exciting for us as the roster as well to see people we maybe weren't expecting show up in different places. So behind the scenes, we don't know what's going to happen next. So we're sharing a lot of the excitement with the fans. So and we saw that yes, the partnership is with TNA and NXT, but here I am. I was able to go out onto the Rumble. So is it that out with the question to think that maybe the TNA World Champion could show up on WrestleMania?
Oh, wow.
Is
this another thing you're trying to put out there?
Is it that crazy?
I don't think so. I mean, you're damn popular.
I mean, maybe the reaction we got at the Rumble. Maybe who knows?
What about that reaction? What is going on in your mind? Holy shit, man! 70,000 people in Indianapolis at this massive stadium are reacting to your song and then singing it and doing the clapping.
Yeah.
For a guy who's been through the road, like the crazy ups and downs of the professional wrestling business, and Wade Barrett had the all-time best line, right? Overnight sensation in 15 years. It took him 15 years to become one. I would just love to know, like, in that moment, do you even remember what you were thinking about?
I remember being told beforehand. I worked very closely with Shane Helms, who was the Hurricane, in this match, and he had a lot of great advice for me. And one of the pieces of advice was just take a moment. Just take a moment, because this is special. You take it in, feel the moment. It's also what Tommy Dreamer told me before I went out in NXT the first time as well. You must take a moment to just appreciate the magnitude of what's happening, because it's such a rare opportunity to experience something like that. So I walked out, and like I say, you don't really know what the reaction is going to be, but it was loud, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I walked out, and I could hear there was like a roar behind me. So I actually turned around, and I saw there was a sign right there, and then there was another sign where they'd spelled out my name, and it was so one person's holding an H, one's holding an E, and so on. And I was like, I remember seeing The Rock having those signs. I'm just going, what is going on? What is my life? And it's just it's very difficult to put into words, but it's yes, I learned that working in an arena of that size is slightly different to working in smaller venues. You have to adjust things a little bit, and now I have a little bit of experience there. I know how to maybe improve on it next time.
When you say adjust, what do you mean by that?
So for example, before I hit the standing ovation on the Miz, what I'll do is I'll do the We Will Rock you. I'll do stomp, stomp, clap, and I do it 3 times, and then I go for the move. But in an arena of that size, it takes so long for the sound to travel. Maybe it's worth doing 4 times, maybe 5 times to get the whole arena with you. So there's certain things you just maybe have to take a little more time with. And also, there's a photograph of Roman Reigns spearing me, and someone tweets and says, "I can't believe this is a real photograph." But again, working with Roman, there you go. I'll tell you that is
that's surreal.
It was surreal. It was surreal. And I think I said in the promo, it's on WWE's YouTube, where I said, I don't think this is the last time that me and Roman will cross paths, because at the end of the day, he didn't pin me. He threw me over the top ropes. Now that is the MMA equivalent of losing 1 round in a 5 fight.
That's right.
So there's unfinished business there, my friend. But yeah, working with Roman, I kind of got an appreciation for that top guy timing. And just going like so I had a couple of epiphanies when I was out there. It was a great learning experience. And what's amazing is that this partnership is very helpful to gain that experience. The NXT talent are able to gain experience of working in our arenas. And I don't know if you've seen recently, but TNA is on such a hot streak right now. We're filling like these big arenas. We had 4,000 people in for Genesis. We had 4,000 people for Slammiversary in Montreal. We had phenomenal numbers at Bound for Glory, and we've got some big shows coming up. Some really ambitious shows coming up. So
I want to ask you about that in a moment, but I'm curious. Were you nervous in there? You walk in there and there's legends of the game, some that you've never worked with, maybe not really had a conversation with, and there you are. Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Are you hesitant? What's going through your mind as you step through the ropes?
So you mean before I go out, or as I'm running to the ring?
Yeah, now you're in there.
Okay. So I walked out and the reaction's good, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm more thinking about. I'll be completely honest with you. The main thing that's going through your head is you just don't want to do the Titus O'Neil.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's the main thing. I don't want to fall down. So once you've slid in, it's kind of because I remember people saying, hey, when you go out, watch, there's a couple of steps at the start of the ramp, and then there's a little decline at the bottom. So I was kind of thinking about that because can you imagine?
No.
So once you've slid in, you're like, okay. And the main thing was as well is like I've never. You sometimes overthink things. So I'm almost glad that this year's been such a roller coaster. I haven't had time to think about it, because if I did have 3 weeks to know about the Rumble, I might have overthought it. But one thing I did get in my head, because you sometimes start thinking these self-sabotaging thoughts, was I was like, oh man, don't fall over on the nip up. Don't fall over on the nip up. And the moment I hit the nip up and I was finding the crowd start coming up, I was like, I'm having fun. I'm good. That was the one bit where it's like, don't fall over on the nip up. And we didn't. So we're good.
You were flowing out there.
Thank you. Yeah,
it was seamless.
It was a lot of fun, and I will be honest though, it's hard to process, because it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. Like you say, to see a picture of me standing next to Triple H where he's pointing at me, winning the TNA World Championship, and then we go out in front of 70,000 people. That is an unprecedented situation for with this partnership. And I say that, but we have to give Jordan Grace credit and Mickey as well, because they really kicked down the door. And without them kind of doing that, I really feel them doing that is what's led me here.
What happens when you get to the back? Anyone give you any words of wisdom?
So the first thing that happens is when you leave the ringside area, there's like a little golf cart that picks you up.
Okay.
So you're kind of, I'm sitting there, I've been speared by Roman Reigns. Would love to have won and gone on to WrestleMania, but there was a moment where I was sitting on the cart and the fans were just saying, "No, we believe," and you're going, "Whoa, like this is pretty surreal." So you get to the back, and I had another conversation with John Cena when he got back as well, and it was just. It's hard to say. It's hard to put it into words. To be honest. It's just wow. It's a chapter in my career that was just a wonderful surprise.
I would imagine at one point probably unfathomable, right? It's like everyone wants to get to WWE, but was there ever a point where you thought maybe this stream isn't going to work out for me?
Never. So I never thought about quitting. I had a moment where there was a show in Newcastle, England, a promotion called North Wrestling, and there was maybe 200 people there, and I did an entrance video on Scotty 2 Hotty, where I do these things where I do these custom music videos where I make fun of my opponents. I did one for Scotty 2 Hotty, and the place just erupted, and it was 200 people there, and at that time I didn't have a deal. And I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I am a pro wrestler, and this particular brand of comedy that I'm doing, nobody's doing it like this. This is what I bring to the table, whether it's in front of 50 people, 200, 2,000, 20,000 or beyond. I'm committed, and I'll give it my best. And my thinking switched from I want to win this title, I want to work for this promotion, I want, and it changed to What's the best way that I can entertain the audience? What's the biggest reaction we get? What's the biggest laugh? Instead of focusing on I want, is what can you give to the audience? How can I give more of myself to get better? As soon as I had that shift, I almost immediately got signed to TNA. Oh, it was like a couple weeks later. I got signed to TNA, and something changed in me. So I never thought I have to do this, I have to do that. I just had gratitude for the entire journey, and I feel on top of the world. It's been unbelievable, and I've had amazing colleagues. We've got amazing management. I'm very, very grateful.
Your background, you went to music and whatnot, right? But also, as I said, martial arts, wreslling, judo. Yeah. What are the credentials? What's the resume here? Because you're legit.
So I did judo from the age of, I think, like 6 to 13. Kind of stepped away from it, did some acting classes, did music. I came back to judo when I was about 19, 20, and I got my black belt in judo. And that was the first time I'd ever finished anything in my life. I remember my dad saying to me, one day you could get your black belt. And I looked at my dad and I said, that's not, having a black belt isn't for people like me, Dad. Like, and it kind of broke my dad's heart, me saying that, because I just didn't see myself as someone who had the potential to do that. So when I actually did get my black belt and I finally finished something, I was like, oh, I just had this moment where I was like, if I put in the work, you can achieve things, and these things pay off. And so I did music for a long time. I kind of finished my degree, and then I decided it was 2012 going into 2013. I decided, as of tomorrow, you are a pro wrestler. That's who you are. And I really believed that I had what it took to be a world champion. I saw myself as world champion the first day I stepped into a training school, and I've been speaking things into existence ever since I started. I remember on my second week, I says, oh, when do you usually do WWE tryouts? And my coach was like, well, November. And I'm like, cool, I'll be on that one. And I was in my first year. The first match I had outside of my training school was it was closed doors, but it was in a WWE ring.
Really?
Yeah, in the Manchester arena. But what I did is in 2014, so that was when CM Punk had signed to the UFC. That kind of got me thinking that I was like, wow, he's just signed with this deal with the UFC. The UFC is like a legit competitor in the sports entertainment space. And I thought, man, I should get back into it. So I decided to pursue amateur wrestling at the age of 26. And it took me a good few attempts, but I very closely followed Chael Sonnen's advice, which was the higher the weight classes you go, the lower the skill level is. So what I did is I went as heavy as possible. And there were far fewer competitors, and the skill level was lower. Like, there were guys in lower weight classes who would beat me all the time. But I just got so heavy that the talent pool wasn't as big. And I thought, there's actually only 4 or 5 guys in the UK I really need to worry about here. And I just spent 3 years figuring out how to beat them. And then in 2017, I won my first British Championship in amateur wrestling. After everybody telling me you can't start a sport at 26. But in 2017, I won the freestyle British Championship at 97 kilos. I represented Scotland at the Commonwealth Games in 2018. And Scotland was drawn against Australia. And Robert Whittaker had declared that he was going to enter the Commonwealth Games for wrestling at 97 kilograms. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Scotland's drawn against Australia. I'm going, I could face the UFC champion as can you imagine a pro wrestler facing Robert Whittaker? So I DM'd Chael Sonnen. I says, Chael, I got to get your advice. Let's be honest, probably gonna kick my ass, but should I call him out anyway? And he says, absolutely, call him out. And Chael wrote my promo.
Come on.
He wrote my promo. I went out and I said it on the BBC. And what happened was, I think Dana White had said that he'd advise him not to do it, or if he got injured at the Commonwealth, they might have to take the title off. And so he ended up not doing it. But from the pro wrestling perspective, I was like, hey, looks like, Robert didn't want to face the pro wrestler. So that was my adventure into amateur wrestling. And after the Commonwealth Games, which unfortunately I did not medal there, but I did give it my very best. And in life, as long as I give it my best, I'm completely happy with that. And I really left it all out there. There was a long, hard-fought match. I gave it every ounce of energy that I had, and I couldn't get the job done, but I gave it my best. I came back to the UK, and I won my second British Championship, this time in Greco, and I decided that would be my last match.
Okay.
Then I would focus purely on professional wrestling.
Did you ever consider MMA?
Yes. Absolutely. Like I saw CM Punk do it. Yeah. And I thought, actually, if I just go down this amateur wrestling path, I actually met with, there was an MMA company in Ireland. I forget the name. It wasn't Cage Warriors. It was perhaps Bama.
Bama, yeah.
I think I met with Bama to discuss potentially having an MMA. I was very open to it at one point. But pro wrestling just started to pay off. And, as I got a little bit older, I just felt the door was closed. It just felt right to move on. I thought, the last thing I did in amateur wrestling was to win a British title. And I thought, you know what, that's a good time to hang up the boots and focus on pro wrestling. Because I only did it to further my pro wrestling career.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because honestly, I wasn't happy with how I was being booked or used at the time. And I just thought I need to add legitimacy to what I'm doing. So that was like my kind of primary thought.
A member of my team, Drake, told me today, would you do MMA videos on YouTube for What Culture?
Yeah. I mean, I was the worst host of all time.
Okay.
So I'm not going to brag about that, but I was actually a host at What.
You were a member of the MMA Media Corps?
Believe it or not, I asked Dan Henderson his last ever question.
Come on.
In the sort of press area.
Where was this?
That was it was in the UK, it was in England.
Like you would go to fights as a credentialed media member?
I did it once.
Okay.
I was like, this isn't for me. But I did it once.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff like that I've just done once and gone, yeah, this isn't the way, but that was fun.
So did you watch MMA? Were you a big fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, huge fan.
And have you kept in touch with Chael?
I've spoken to Chael like a couple of times on DM. I used to speak to him more, but I haven't spoken to him in recent years actually. But it would be very cool to.
I wonder if he knows that the guy that reached out to him. Like, do you think he knows who you are now?
I don't know if he's put two together, but I think Chael's enough of a fan that he probably watched the Rumble.
That is a good point. Actually, he was tweeting about it. So I just wonder if he remembers that it's the
same.
He
might not. So Chael, if you're watching,
yes,
there you go.
He'll be on the show tomorrow.
Thank you for all the advice. It's part of what got me here.
A lot of people have stories like this. Oban Elliott, who's in the UFC, who's a big wrestling fan, has stories of just DMing Chael, asking for advice. Yep. Everyone says he just writes back and couldn't be nicer. So I'm glad to hear that you had the same experience. Those videos back in the day, like for Insane Championship Wrestling, right? Like those music videos that you did, incredible stuff.
Thank you.
What's interesting about it though, is like I say you're like a cult like favorite because I feel like fans are so passionate about you and your journey. You used the word comedy before, and as you know, sometimes the comedic acts don't become like the top guy, right? It's a tricky balance. How do you balance that? Because there's still comedy to your gimmick now, right? The turn, the face, but you also want to be taken seriously as the top guy. So how do you balance that?
Well, I think that was part of the motivation with doing amateur wrestling. Like, I mean, Kurt Angle's the classic example. Kurt Angle's one of my favorites of all time. Another just amazing guy, unbelievable to work with. He could be as silly as he wanted to be and still be a huge legitimate threat because of his credentials. And obviously, like Kurt's achievements are on a completely different level, planet to anybody else. But even on a smaller scale, I thought if I legitimize myself, I can be comedic, But also, I think that my view of professional wrestling is that the people who are most successful in professional wrestling are the ones who are just authentically themselves. Like if you think about like a CM Punk, for example, he is always authentically himself. John Cena is always authentically himself. The top talents are authentically themselves. And I think the more that you are true to your own personality and turn the volume up on it, whether you might be comedic, you might not be. To me, I'm just being me and an amplified version of me. And I feel like the fans are very much in on this journey. They're in it with me because I just felt, honestly, I was happy even just doing it. I got to a point where I was happy doing it in front of 100 or a couple hundred people. I was completely happy doing it. And it was just, I was free, I was expressing myself. And the more that I just let all the pressure go and I could just be myself and have fun with the audience, it just organically grew from there. So to me, There are moments where I'm comedic, there are moments where we're more serious, but I'm just doing what feels right in the moment, and that seems to be what translates.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt. Just want to remind you, if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate it very much. And while you're at it, give us a thumbs up too. You know, we've got live shows, interviews, clips, and a whole lot more going on this here channel. All right, now back to the show. So what's the turning point? How do you make sense of all this? Like, again, you're in the business for over 10 years, right?
12 years, yeah.
Right? And then to get to this point, what, in your opinion, what changed?
So around the last WrestleMania, fans started to speculate and say, oh, it'd be cool if Joe Hendry showed up. And you know, sometimes when people speculate, that's when rumors start. So there was a point where I saw on TikTok, people were making videos of what would happen if I appeared at WrestleMania. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But it got to the point where anyone who made a TikTok reel with my song was getting 300,000 to 400,000 hits, and I thought, wow, this is something's going on here. And I thought maybe it's time to actually release this as a song. And I tell people this, I was in my house, and it's just funny how, you know, there's these parallel universes where I was like, man, I'm tired, I need to go to the gym, but I also need to upload this song. And I was like, am I going to go to the gym or upload this damn song? And I was like, I'll upload this song. And I remember being mad that I didn't get to go to the gym that night. I uploaded the song for April 29th because I didn't know how music releases worked anymore. So I didn't know that singles are released on the schedule. I think is Friday to Thursday.
Okay.
I just thought, well, Monday's the start of the week, so I scheduled the song to be released on a Monday because it was the first day of the week, not knowing that's halfway through the release schedule, which gives you half the time to build up sales. But without realizing it worked on my behalf. So I've scheduled it for April 29th. I think, well, I better start promoting this thing, I guess. So I started doing interviews. My brother started making memes of, like, you know, putting me into famous films and TV shows. Like we did one where, you know, I won't give it away, but the last moment in The Sopranos cuts to my music video, just things like that. We built up the support, and the song.
By the way, just quit his job.